Welcome to Strip Down Success. I'm Tracey Hawk. With me is Angela Thomas.
Hey, everybody.
How's everybody doing tonight?
We're going to talk about perfectionism and how it can hold up progress.
What are your thoughts on perfectionism? Or would you like me to start, or how do you want to handle this one?
Well, no, I think this is a great topic just because, at least in my experience, the perfectionism that I see in my family and that's ingrained in me is the type of the worst kind of perfectionism, because it results in major procrastination, because your vision of what you want to have happen and how perfect it is in your head feels like it's ruined the second you start creating it. And then it's free to the world and open to judgment. And the fear of that, of ruining the image of whatever it is you're trying to do, results in putting off doing it at all until the very last. If it's something you have to do, it results in you doing it the very last second and not nearly as good of a job, right? Perfectionism can just totally cripple you, in my opinion. Like deer in the headlights, it's almost a kind of fear,
Yeah, I can see that. I know with me, and I know we've had this issue before with my views on certain things. It does kind of hinder our ability to let some stuff and release some stuff, because we're wanting it to be just right. We don't want it to maybe be perceived as something, and we're always wanting our reputation or our image to be something, right? I think I definitely myself have been put in that spot where I didn't want to release something, or I wanted to wait to do something because I wanted to make it just right. And I think you are the yin to my yang on that one. I think you kind of helped me see the light and see the big picture instead of the small individual pictures.
Well, it was like we talked about on a podcast a couple of days ago, or last week or whatever, where we were talking about, you have to, part of being an entrepreneur and having courage to put yourself out there is not being afraid to suck. And seriously, do you know how many people there are out there? I don't want to call out names, like, people in my own family or anything, but do you know how many authors, I'm doing quote signs in the air for those of you on the podcast, authors out there haven't actually written more than a page, or even maybe not even a page. They have great book ideas in their head. They think of themselves as a writer, but they don't write because they're terrified of what they envision, how they see themselves not being what's actually put out there, right? And that's kind of what you were saying, like you have this viewpoint of yourself, and once you put something out that you created, you're an artist, whether it's a business or a book or art or whatever it is, then, even a podcast or a video on TikTok, you're opening yourself up to the judgment of the whole world, right?
Yeah, or at least to the eyes, judgment, eyes of the whole world. I like that you just called us an artist. I'm technically an artist now. I like that.
You're an artist. You have been the whole time.
It is a roadblock that a lot of entrepreneurs got to overcome. You've got to get your stuff out, your message or your product or stuff, whatever you're selling or doing. It's important to get it out, because without getting it out, you won't ever start growing. And that's the whole idea about being an entrepreneur, right? Is to take something and to grow it. So I can definitely understand both sides of that coin. I know we've been in situations ourselves with our coaching that where we had to push clients to finally take that first step, because in the end that's what it is, right? You take the first step and then you take all the steps afterwards, and sometimes that first step can be the hardest because of that fear. I would agree with you 100%.
It is. You get better at it as you go. I mean, they say I keep going back to writing a book, but they say you have to get the first crappy, horrible draft out there, and then keep working on it and redoing it until it actually is something worth reading. And I think writing a book is one of the biggest projects you can take on and one of the hardest ones to finish. I read somewhere that you can't call yourself a writer unless you're physically picking up a pencil or pen or your laptop and writing daily. If we're working to become whatever it is you want to be, you have to be doing that thing daily. If you want to be in shape, you want to have a six-pack, you got to be working out daily, right? Perfectionism is a trap, and we are surrounded by, you see so many. I think part of what makes you scared of putting your stuff out there is seeing the already perfected people that are light years ahead of you that have been doing it for 20 years. They're putting their stuff out, and you're comparing your beginner crap to theirs, if you are a beginner, in whatever new thing you're trying to do, I was just looking up something, and Harvard Business Review did a study that actually shows how perfectionism leads to procrastination, missed deadlines, and stunted innovation in companies. A lot of times when there's a perfectionist CEO or head person, they have to bring in somebody else to like kick them out of it, that has, overriding power, because that can really screw up a company.
Well, yeah, I think that's important. Like we were talking about strategic partnerships before, with either the people that we hire to run certain parts of our businesses, or with business partners that we bring in, right? If I know that, or for instance, with me and you know that I can get too far over on the perfectionist side, and it takes you to steer me back and get me right to where we cover our overall values, the way people view us, right? But in the end, if you leave it up to me, sometimes I might drag my feet a little bit too long, and you get on.
Yeah, I do.
You do.
Because it can, perfectionism can stall progress. And I personally would rather have progress than perfectionism. So we're a little bit opposite on that one. I do like things to be, obviously I want it, it's got to work. It's got to make the customer happy and all that. I don't think we're the ultimate judges. I like to put stuff out and kind of see what other people think,
Sometimes you just have to let go and trust the people that you hire to do what's best for your business, because you hire certain people for a reason. In the end, your success is going to depend on their success, and if they are the professionals, you've got to let them take the reins and do what they do. Otherwise, you will sit there stagnant, and we can go over and debate. And I think at the time we were talking about Facebook ads or something like that. I was like, just let us do what you pay us to do, and we'll see. We'll run the two ads, and we'll see how they do side by side. And I think in the end, the way that you did it killed the way that we did it.
Oh, definitely did. But,
I didn't even.
But I mean, that's why they hire you, is because, if you hire someone to fix a problem, you can't tell them how to fix the problem.
Yeah.
You bring in an outside expert that's an expert in an area that you're not an expert in, and then you tell them how you want it done exactly. Well, that kind of ruins bringing in an expert. So.
Yeah. Hire the people that you can trust to handle the tasks that you need them to handle. Because in the end, you can't be involved in every little minute.
You got to surround yourself with experts, delegate, and trust that they're going to handle it.
That is exactly right. Because I think especially with partnerships, we definitely try to hire people that are smarter than us in certain aspects, that have different strengths.
Oh yeah, they gotta have different strengths. I do think though, if we look on the other side of perfectionism, I think the best CEOs, like Steve Jobs, that are out there, they have that perfectionism gene, that thing in their brain, and it brings out higher quality work, but you have to control it, right? Because perfectionism, you have to have a certain amount, you have to demand excellence from yourself, from your team, to be the best and to get to where you want to be. But you can't have perfectionism stop progress or hinder progress or cause you to hit deadlines. But I mean, that is a good example. I mean, he was a very successful CEO and guy, no matter how you look at it, a brilliant guy. So I'm just thinking about all the business owners I know that have really successful companies. They have that perfectionism thing, and they do drive people around them a little bit crazy.
I would agree.
The light side of perfectionism, it can actually help you also, right?
Yeah. That's why it's important, if you're a solopreneur, that you have the ability to control it. And if you're an entrepreneur and you got partners like myself, to have a yin and a yang to the whole relationship.
Yeah. Well, I would say, in my opinion, I would wrap this up with saying, we know the dark side of perfectionism. It can seriously trip you up. But I think the secret is to take those perfectionist tendencies and kind of direct them into your drive for excellence, and not let it be an excuse for procrastination, right?
I think it goes back to like what we were saying before, like put a deadline on yourself, put a timeline, and know that you have to make a decision. You have to pull the trigger.
And hold yourself completely responsible and accountable for meeting that deadline. Yeah, definitely.
I totally agree.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thank y'all.